Francesca from Under the Covers, and today I am here with a book tag video for you guys. This is the Get to Know the Romance Reader book tag. It was originally created by Bree from Falling for Romance. She actually has all the information for this book tag on her blog, so I will leave a link to her blog post down below. I don't think she's done a video. I've done a book tag similar to this one quite some time ago. I will be sure to leave it linked down below as well. It was sort of a romance reader book tag. I can't remember what it was called right now, but it's been quite some time since I've done that book tag, and since then there's a lot of new viewers to our channel, so I thought it was the perfect time to revisit some of these themes. And I love the questions in this book tag. There are actually 10 questions. I will also leave them in the information box down below if you want to answer them in the comments. But without any further delays, let's just jump right into the book tag. Question number 1 is, what is your romance origin story and how you came to read your first romance novel? Does Jane Austen technically count? Because that would have been school, but a lot of the books that I've always read have some romance in them, but they were not romance novels. I would say that probably the first actual romance novel that I picked up was one of the Harlequin category romances. It might have been a Blaze, more erotic one, or it could have been just a historical romance or a cowboy romance or something. Definitely don't remember the exact book. I went through about a year of going through a ton of Harlequin romances, and then I stopped and I went back to what I liked to read before that, which was urban fantasy and thrillers and that kind of stuff. And then I stopped reading altogether for quite some time. Then once I got back into reading, I definitely went back to my safe zone, what I like to read, which was urban fantasy, a little bit of young adult fantasy. And as you know, a lot of those genres also have a romance thread in them, and I slowly graduated to paranormal romance. I didn't want to go back to the Harlequins and the contemporaries and all that, and paranormal romance was definitely my gateway into the massive addiction that it's now reading the romance genre, any subgenre that exists. I definitely can't pinpoint what was the first paranormal romance that I picked up. I know that I devoured a whole bunch of series, binged read a ton of series, but I can't pinpoint the first contemporary romance that got me back into reading that subgenre, and that was Broken by Megan Hart. And that was sort of the book that made me feel like contemporary romance could be something that I could get into. And then fast forward a little bit more, my first historical romance that got me back into reading that genre was Secrets of a Summer Night by Lisa Kleypas. So I've definitely had a lot of rebirths into reading the romance genre, and there are certainly authors, more specifically than books, that have definitely made me fall in love with the genre. Okay, question number 2, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna look down to read these questions just because I don't want to forget exactly what the question is. So question number 2 is, if you could be the heroine in a romance novel, who would be the author, and what's one trope you'd insist be in the story? So should come as no surprise that I'm gonna say it's gonna be a paranormal romance, but it may come as a surprise that I would want the author to be Nalini Singh. And I know the book has already been written because I would just want to be in Hawk's story. I would love to just take over Sienna's body and just be her. I would totally want my story to be in the Psy-Changeling world, and I definitely would insist in having a changeling hero, preferably Dark River, although the bears are strong contenders as well, but I think I'm gonna stick with my felines. And I think another thing that I would insist on is for my character not to be a changeling, so I definitely would want to be a Psy and have some kind of cool power. I don't know exactly what I would want that to be, and I would probably leave that to the queen of paranormal romance, which is Nalini Singh, and I'm sure she would do that story justice. If I could just give some pointers on the type of hero that I would want to have in my story, it's definitely a mix between Hawk, Caleb, and Judd. Question number 3 is, what is a romance you've read this year that you would like more people to read? And I think for that one, I'm definitely going to go with Polaris Rising by Jessie Mihalik. This is a sci-fi romance. What is life that I'm actually talking about a sci-fi romance, but definitely no aliens here. That would be in Suzanne's video, I'm sure. I was really impressed with the story. This is not a debut novel for this author, but it's definitely a new to me, and it's the first in a new series. I am so excited for this series. I can't wait to read book 2. There's great world building, there's great characters. Actually, the heroine in this book is one of my favorite female characters that I've read this year. I love the hero as well. I loved their chemistry. It was sexy. So if you want something that's full of action, a little bit of danger, keeps you on your toes, and it's definitely interesting, and at the same time it has plenty of sizzling sexual chemistry and tension, then definitely check this one out. Question number 4 is, what is your favorite romance subgenre, and what is a subgenre that you have not read a lot of? And definitely Paranormal Romance is my favorite, and the one that I want to read more of that I know I have not read a ton of is romantic suspense. I do really enjoy it, I just don't pick it up as much. Question number 5 is, who is one of your auto-buy romance authors? That's an impossible question to answer because, I mean, we can't just talk about one author. So I definitely will say Lisa Kleypas, Tessa Dare, J.R. Ward, Nalini Singh, Cressley Cole, Elle Kennedy, L.H. Causeway, and the list goes on. Question number 6 is, how do you typically find romance recommendations? Because on the blog we do have a release calendar, I am always scouring the internet for book releases, so I feel like I come across most books while doing that anywhere, whether it's sometimes Amazon sorting by like release dates, through social media, cover reveals, things like that. So I usually want to try stuff based on something that catches my eye while I'm doing that, whether it's the cover, because I do judge books by the cover, or maybe it's an interesting blurb, or it's an author that I've been hearing a lot about on social media and I want to read their newest release. Other than that, I definitely rely on my bookish friends that I've met through the book blogging community throughout the years, and I've gotten pretty good at knowing whose reading taste really matches mine. So when they recommend a book, I generally tend to pick it up, and most recently I've been finding romance recommendations on Instagram, and I can definitely attest that a lot of the ones that I've picked up from that are impulse buys. Question number 7 is, what is an upcoming romance release that you are excited for? And I am definitely going with the Bromance Book Club, and that is because it's about a struggling marriage. I don't think that there are enough books about struggling marriages, and I find them really interesting to read about. And I will also fully admit that the fact that the cover is really cute and that the hero of the story, who's the one trying to save his marriage, does it by joining a romance reading book club that it's only men, that just sounds like something I have to have in my life. Question number 8 is, what is one misconception about the romance genre that you want to lay to rest? And I think for me, the one that really annoys me is when people say, well, we know how the book is going to end, but just because what makes a romance is the fact that there's an HEA, or happily ever after, at the end of the book, doesn't mean that you know how the story is going to go, because every story and every set of characters, they're completely unique, and if the author is doing their job well, they shouldn't be interchangeable from one story to the next one. So I think that the fact that all romance books basically are the same and they're all formulaic, they're formulaic to a point because they use tropes in general, but I think every author does things in their own unique way, and there's still a unique reading experience, and you still don't know what you're going to get. The only thing you're guaranteed with a romance is that you know that the couple will be together in the end. Question number 9 is, what is a recent romance reading content creator that you've come across that you'd like to shout out? I feel like there are a lot more people on the booktube community that are reading romance, but I definitely want to shout out something completely different. And I'm not really a podcast person, but I have been really enjoying the different take of this particular podcast, and it's called Learning the Tropes. And this podcast is hosted by a woman and a man, Aaron and Clayton. So she is a romance connoisseur and he's a romance reading virgin, and I thought it was really interesting to see his journey as he's reading his first romance novel, and then the two of them discuss his thoughts on the actual book, and they try to pick out different tropes that maybe he can identify. He starts learning what tropes are, and I just think that it's a really fun concept, and I really enjoy listening to those when I get a chance. And question number 10, and this is the last one, if someone had never read a romance before and asked you to recommend the first 3 books that come to mind as places to start, what would your recs be? So difficult, because I always like to give recommendations for these types of things based on what they're already reading, but I'm gonna try to be generic about this and give different subgenres. So I definitely would recommend Dark Lover by J.R. Ward, Secrets of a Summer Night by Lisa Kleypas, and Dirty by Megan Hart. And that is it for this book tag. That concludes all my answers. I can't wait to see what you guys answer for these. And if you're watching this, consider yourself tagged. If you read romance, definitely go ahead and do this book tag. And don't forget to leave your links in the comments if you've done either a blog post or a video for this book tag so I can come and watch it. I would definitely love to see what are your 3 books that you would recommend for non-romance readers to get into the genre, so please leave those in the comments down below. Don't forget to follow us on the blog at underthecoversbookblog.com and all our social media channels. Everything is linked in the information box down below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our videos. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you again in the next one. Bye!